What is going on, everybody? And welcome to your Texas recap episode of the Coach and the Couch Potato. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. We are going to dive into a game that, if you're a defensive guy, lived up to the hype. If you're a football fan, it lived up to the hype. And if you're an offensive guy, you probably took a nap. But, you know, two really good football teams breaking in new players. Obviously, OSU with the new coordinators. I mean, we both thought it was going to be low scoring.
Yep.
It lived up to that and then some. We'll kind of run over the stats real quick because honestly, the stats don't tell the story of the game.
Yeah, they really don't tell the story of the game, man. I thought this was a very evenly matched game. Both defenses played very well. I thought both defensive coordinators did a great job calling a great game, which we'll dive into a little bit later. But it was fun, man. The shoe sounded like it was rocking. One of my buddies, who's a coach on our staff, he actually works at Ohio State, so he worked the game, and he said it was bananas. So I love hearing that, man, and having that home field advantage. So yeah, man, it was a fun game to watch. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, real quick, you hit on the atmosphere. I got a text from our guy BG at like 7:15, and he was like, "Dude, I've never seen campus like this in such a long time."
That's awesome.
And then he was in the stadium about 11:45, and he was like, "The stadium's full."
That's
awesome. It's not the late stragglers. It is full. It is loud, and it is rowdy. Awesome. So shout out to the fans. They showed up, and there were times it sounded really loud on TV. Yeah. And then there were times I'm like, where are these people at?
Yeah.
But I don't think Fox does the whole ABC thing. Fox dims down the crowd noise, whereas ABC almost amps it up. I would much rather watch a game on Fox for that reason.
Yeah.
Statistically, Texas had 16 first downs. Buckeyes only had 11. Stat that really jumps out to you because Texas ran the ball 37 times for 166 yards. How many times did we say last year that the team that wins the rushing battle wins the game?
Yeah, so many times.
Buckeyes only rushed for 77 yards. Yeah. After the first couple of drives of the day, I would have thought they were going to rush for 200.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really shocked by that. I think I do think we need to make sure that we don't think our running attack is not going to be good this year based off of that performance. I do think it's going to get better with time. That interior defensive line for Texas is very good. And I want to make that very clear. They are those two defensive tackles that they had, and they spent a lot of money in the transfer portal on those guys. It's a very good defensive line. If you watch the tape, there is a lot of good things that our interior defensive line did, specifically on the left side of the line. And I know that people are going to say I'm such a homer because of my guy Luke, but he played a really good game. I think there is still some good things. I love the way C.J. Donaldson runs. He runs behind his pads. His shoulders get low. James Peoples is a home run waiting to happen. It's going to happen. And so be patient. It's going to get there. They're running a lot more counter, a lot more gap schemes than they have in a long time, like they did in the playoffs. So it will get there. Just be patient.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said with Peoples, I think how we talked about early last year, Travion Henderson, it's like his feet were moving faster than his eyes.
Yeah.
There were times that Peoples was running up the back of blockers. Like, I think it was just, I don't want to say nerves, but he wasn't following his read. You know, there's the video out there, and, you know, anybody that thinks you're being a Luke Montgomery homer, watch the double team video of Luke and Carson Hensman sending a dude back to the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was another video on the first touchdown with C.J. Donaldson. I mean, they decided to run the ball to the left side behind Sareveld and Luke, and their double team put the guy into the end zone. CJ follows right behind him. Onianwa had a good block there, really great job cutting off. I believe he cut off another one of the defensive tackles. He may even have scooped the center. I don't know, which is extremely not the nose guard, but the tackle, which is an extremely difficult thing to do when he's a inside shade on you. And it was awesome. It was a fantastic thing to see. And so there are some really good things that the offensive line did. And so I don't want us to be discouraged by that, man. I think there's a lot of good that can come from this. And man, our running back coach is going to be on those guys on Monday, making sure that they're ready to go, ready to lock in for Grambling. It doesn't matter who we're playing. I expect the running backs to have a huge game. And so I think this offensive line and running back group will get the run game going in the coming weeks for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we'll jump a little further into snap counts here in a minute. But you know who else was in on the first touchdown? Nate Roberts.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
4 tight ends
That's awesome.
on that play.
That's awesome.
Passing yards wise, Texas won 70. Obviously, they were chucking it around at the end, trying to make up ground. Julian had 126, which was a clean 126. So a total yardage, Buckeyes gave up 336 yards. Longhorns gave up 203. But again, the stats in this situation don't tell the story of the game. Just like the run game stuff, Ohio State had awful field position for the bulk of this game.
Absolutely.
You have to play it safe, and you're going to play it safe, especially with a new quarterback. And Ryan Day even basically said that after the game.
Yeah. And this is, the classic type of trussle ball that you kind of play, right? Especially at the beginning of the season, you're breaking in a lot of new starters. You're breaking in basically a new team. You're breaking in a new quarterback. Defenses are typically going to be ahead of the offense. And so how are you going to win games at the beginning, especially against another powerhouse blue blood program? You got to find ways to win ugly, right? You're not going to come out clicking and firing on all cylinders against a great team. And so you've got to find ways to win ugly. Steve Sarkisian, people are going to say he played a conservative game. No, he's breaking in a new quarterback as well. And so he's going to play that field position game and lean on his defense a little bit more because his defense is really good. And he's going to be going up against a first-year starter at quarterback as well. And so, there was that little bit of a battle going on. Let's lean on them. And then in the third quarter, fourth quarter, let's ramp things up with tempo. Once we have a good beat on what they're doing, and then we can start trying to push the ball down the field and do some different things. And so the beginning of the season when you're playing these top programs, I know people talk about playing it safe and they don't like it, but you don't want to put too much pressure on the quarterback because you can break them. Like if Julian Sand goes out there and we sling it around 40 times and he throws a couple picks, what are you doing to his psyche? And so I think Ryan Day and Brian Hartline, I think they did a good job of really managing the game for Julian Sand. And we had a few drops mixed in there as well. So, I think overall, I thought they did a good job of managing the game around him.
Yeah, the drops were crazy, man. 2 by Jeremiah, 1 by Max Clare. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction. That'll be the last drop you see from Jeremiah Smith this season.
Oh, okay.
I think that, he wanted that game bad, and he looked good. But again, they're not going to give you the top. They are going to keep everything in front.
Yeah.
They know what the Ohio State receivers can do. One last little note on the field position side of life. I really thought because Joe McGuire didn't have a great day.
Yeah.
I really thought the one when we punted from right at the back of the end zone that they may have tried McClarty just to let him bang it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess we'll see him this weekend if we do have to punt at some point just to see what you've got. I think you're going to see a lot of that. But obviously the question going in, the quarterbacks. Julian's saying 13 of 20. The 3 drops right off the rip, so that puts you at 16 of 20, which would be 80%. Even his incompletions, though, his ball placement was top tier.
Yeah. Yeah, man, there's no doubt about it, man. Even the like you said, the even the incompletions, the drops, the one fourth down that he threw to Max Clare, that was a dot. Max Clare's got to come up with that ball. And we
Yes.
had JJ wide open as well. I think Ryan Day wanted him to take the shot there, but either way, he threw the ball on point. Max Clare's got to come up with it. I think Julian Sand did. I think he did fine. He was poised. He looked like an NFL quarterback. I felt I felt good about him managing the game in his first start. And I don't like to use that term, game manager or things like that. But in that environment and against that team with these, the number one team, you're getting the rematch of the national semifinal with all this pressure being the Ohio State Buckeyes quarterback. I could just the poise, man. I think that goes such a long way. And I think I think he already had confidence in the locker room, but I think it went through the roof now. I
Oh,
think they know, like, okay, like he's got that moxie, we've got that belief in him that he can go deliver for us when we need him to deliver. And I thought he did a really good job, man. I think Julian's going to be I think he's going to be special. His stats don't wow you, but I think he did a really good job of just taking care of the football and doing what he needed to do to get the win. And I think he's only going to go up from here.
yeah, and that's one of the things they've always said about him is he's not going to just be reckless with the football.
Yeah.
Um, the other quarterback, now this, yes, is probably a lot of Matt Patricia, but y'all know how I feel about the hype. And Arch Manning looked awful. The touchdown throw was a perfectly thrown ball. I will give him that. That was a dime. It was covered well. He threw it where his guy could get it. But the number of balls he threw at receivers' feet. And it's not like Ohio State was blitzing the tarnation out of him. They weren't sending six dudes hardly ever. Um, he just like again, I have been critical of Arch Manning since he wouldn't go to Elite 11. Um, but the way Arch Manning looked on Saturday, and again, yes, this is probably more reflective of Matt Patricia because Arch Manning's going to put up numbers.
Hmm.
But, if you don't think that the Georgia defense is drooling after watching that, or some of the SEC defenses they're going to see, if Arch Manning's last name wasn't Manning and he played like that, you would have thought he was a 2-star recruit.
Yeah, there was definitely I definitely thought he would play a little bit better. I think a lot of it has to do, I think I think he had a reason why he was more conservative to start the game. I think Arch maybe missed some reads at the beginning. Obviously, he missed a few throws. The first throw of the game that he had a wide open guy. It skips it off the ground. But on that fourth down play, I think he missed the read. Arvell Reese makes a great play, but I think he misread the defensive end. If he pulls that ball and it's an RPO, if he pulls the ball and throws the arrow, Ohio State doesn't have that arrow covered, and it's a first down and possibly even bigger. And so I think he was trying to scheme up some things for Arch, and I just think Arch kind of misread them. I thought he would move the pocket a little bit more. I thought he would play with more tempo, like they started to in the third quarter. Given Matt Patricia and what he can do and the NFL experience that he has, one way you combat that is you play faster, right? You don't have time to disguise and do all those things when you're playing fast. And so I thought we would see a little bit more of that, and that would allow Arch to get in more of a rhythm. But we didn't see that. And so, uh, he did not play well, but I also think a lot of it is, like you said, I think Ohio State's defense is pretty good. And I think they proved that. And so, I think he'll be fine, man. People are gonna bash him. A couple of those sidearm throws. Was it Uncle Rico or whatever they've got
Yeah.
him comparing him to? But I think Arch will be fine. If there's one thing about the Mannings that you can't take away from them. Those that family lives and dies by the game of football. And he is going to work and work and work and work. And so, listen, I'm glad we beat him and, it's over with. And I know he's going to have some tough games coming up, but I think he'll be all right. But he definitely did not look um, like the generational talent that many people say he is, though.
I mean, like I said, before the battle, we know somebody who is adamant the Browns are going to take him. Well, the way he played on Saturday, the Browns would definitely take him. I
Yeah, well,
mean,
the Browns they were there.
yeah, exactly. Jimmy Haslam was in the building.
Yeah.
Um, Matt Patricia. I think Matt Patricia had him seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure that you were giddy with a lot of what you saw.
Yeah.
We're going to do more of a film breakdown in our Before the Battle with Grambling because the film just uploaded tonight. So it'll be really cool to see some of those schemes. But from the TV film, what did you see Matt Patricia doing?
Man, it was a lot of things that you see in the NFL, man. It was a lot of disguising. It was a lot of coverage variations. It was a lot of personnel packages. It was so many people dropping in coverage and you're not knowing where these blitzes are coming from and you're not knowing who's dropping. It was so much eye candy for Arch. Just little subtle things too. And that's the one thing that I love seeing. I think football coaches, we make football so hard and it doesn't need to be that difficult, right? We can disguise one way by just turning our shoulders, and that's going to give the quarterback one read, right? Instead, we teach guys, oh, you got to creep like this, or you got to do this, and it's like, no, you just literally got to turn your shoulders like this, and he's going to think it's one coverage. And you can see like Matt Patricia or Coach Patricia is teaching that simplicity to our guys, right? You saw it with that coffee house blitz that everybody's talking about. You saw it with one where Caleb Downs is showing that he's going to be dropping to the hole like we're playing some sort of version of Tampa 2, and he turns his shoulders like he's getting ready to drop. And Arch Manning is reading that apex player, which was Caleb Downs. And then at the snap, instead of having his shoulders turned, Caleb Downs squares his shoulders back up, but now because of his shoulders being turned, Arch has to read the other side of the field, right? Because he thought he was going to be dropping to the hole, but now Caleb Downs didn't drop to the hole, and so he's reading the other side. But if he stayed on that side on his initial read, that side would have stayed open, all right, and he would have been able to throw to that side. So just those little subtle things, man, it was just awesome to see. The one thing that I will say, and I will give Sark some credit for, he started playing with tempo. And once you start playing with tempo, you can't do those things as fast. Like you just got to line up and play. And so that's when Texas started to get a little bit of a rhythm, we were able to go down and field the score. So that was a good adjustment by Sark. But man, Matt Patricia, this is what he does. That's just what he does, right? People will talk about him being a head coach. He was a pretty good coordinator. And you don't coach for Bill Belichick for that long and suck at coaching. And I think people, well, he just rode the coattails. No, Bill Belichick doesn't keep you around if you're just riding the coattails. Let's just be real about it. Mike Vrabel didn't just ride the coattails. All those coaches that were under the Belichick tree just didn't ride the coattails. They were pretty good coaches. And so Patricia he's one of those guys, man. He's, as the kids say, he's one of them ones. And as a defensive coordinator. And so he showed it. I love the 5-man front, the penny fronts that he was showing. He showed those all spring behind closed doors, and then boom, we see it on Saturday, and it was awesome. I think our defense is going to be pretty good, man. I really do, and I think we got the right guy who's going to utilize our personnel. So kudos to Coach Patricia. Welcome back to college football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if, as the season goes on, how many teams try to run tempo to catch Ohio State off guard and how he adapts, which he's going to adapt. He already has adaptations in place. That's the thing, offensively and defensively. They're only going to get better. That's what's crazy.
Yep.
You hit on something with the defense. You talked about position groupings. Um, I was very surprised, but we saw it last year at the end of the year too. The Ohio State roster did not get very far down. Like they didn't go into their depth. Um, CJ Donaldson 42 snaps, James Peoples 20. Obviously JJ played the bulk at. We only played with three receivers the whole game.
Yep.
Tight ends, 5 tight ends saw playing time.
It's crazy.
Kazmarek with the most, obviously, which is kind of a surprise, but as much as we were running the ball, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Obviously Max Clare is going to be your receiving tight end. You did see a little bit of the rotation on the O-line, and it was between Tegra and Ethan Onyanwa. And I think the O-line on the right side looked better when it was Onyanwa at right guard and Philip Daniels at right tackle. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's some work that still needs to be done there. I think Philip Daniels is the guy at right tackle, obviously. Yeah. I don't know what it is, man. I think Tegra, I think Tegra is fine. I know he's a phenomenal young man. But there must be something that they feel like they need to rotate him still. And then Onyanwa, Saraveld has obviously really proven that he should be the guy at left tackle. And so Onyanwa he's a freak of nature. And so you got to find a spot for him. And I think Onyanwa was only going to get more comfortable at guard. I don't know if he's ever played on the interior. But he had a couple clips where he didn't look the best. But like we were talking about earlier, man, like he had a clip on that goal line, man, where he scoops that inside technique, and it was awesome. And so there's some good things that he did, and so we'll see. He's just repetition. He's only going to get better.
Exactly.
And so it'll be interesting. The good thing is there is depth on the offensive line.
Yes.
And that's positive.
Defensive ends. Caden Curry played the most snaps. Kenyatta got dinged up. Sounds like it might have been concussion protocol. Okay. Ryan Day seemed to think that he would be back. CJ Hicks did get 19 reps, including a huge rep at the end of the game on the pass rush. And actually, a play, might be an under the radar play, is he let up enough to where he was not even coming close to getting a roughing call.
Yeah.
Just it's the little things like that that really, set you apart. Defensive tackle, we did see some rotation, but it was obviously the Edric and Caden show. The 5 guys we talked about are the 5 that got reps. Linebackers, Arvell and Sonny, who we'll get into Arvell Reese in a minute. Everything we've said all offseason came true. 3 corners, IGB, who, wow, what a difference a year makes with that dude. He looked good. He wasn't overly handsy. And then obviously Jermaine Matthews, who with Arvell Reese, one of the 2, players of the game. And then the freshman, Devin Sanchez, in the game at the end when it mattered. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh boy, I was coaching up Devin when he got in there at the end, man. I turned into Coach Slade at the end, giving up outside leverage when we're playing some version of cover 2. I don't know. Obviously, that may be what they're being coached to do, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I give it that big throw to the tight end. Like, I don't know if that's what you're coached to do, man, but come on, like use your length. You could go make a play on that ball. You got to be communicating. There was one play where I'm like, I know Devin doesn't know what he's doing right now. Caleb Downs was trying to coach him up. And then Caleb looks at him and just says, like, switch me. And you could see it on the field. I'm like, Devin has no clue what he's doing right now. And so, like, it was just, it's crazy because I just remember being that freshman out on the field getting my first, opportunity to play in college and like having that same moment, like, oh shoot, like I'm actually out here. But he is so massive. Like I didn't like I saw him in spring practice, but like to see him out there in the field, I kept asking myself, like, who is that kid? Is that is that Devin Sanchez? Like he is huge. But man, like to be in, like you just said right there, to be in the game when it's crunch time, like talk about the belief that they have in that guy, man. He's
Yeah.
only going to get better, like getting more and more reps. Like that just to me, that just says so much. When they put you in a crunch time, that says how much they believe in you. And so I thought it was so cool to see him in there, man. I was nervous, man. It was like thought it was like my little brother out there or something. I
Right?
was so nervous when he got out there, man. So shout out to Devin. Uh,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool to see him out there.
Yeah, that was wild. Obviously, I said IGB had a really good game, but obviously the two dudes on defense, Arvell and Jermaine. Jermaine Matthews was all over the field.
Oh my gosh.
But this was an Arvell Reese coming out party.
Yeah. Yeah, Arvell Reese, man, was really good. And we talked about it when Coach Patricia got hired. After I went down to spring practice, and we got on here, we talked about, they had Sonny lined up at end, they had Arvell lined up at end, they had CJ lined up at end, and then what do we see on Saturday? You saw Arvell lining up all over the place. They're going to utilize him in a lot of different ways, man. And so he is a freak and he can do so many different things. He's a great blitzer. He can rush the passer off the edge. The sky's the limit, and I think we've got the right coordinator to utilize that, and it showed on Saturday. And so having him and Sonny Styles mix in Peyton Pierce, that's a freaking really good linebacking core, man. Like that, those three right there are really freaking good. And so Arvell Reese he's got a lot of good things coming for him, man. He played very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, before we get into do some Buckeye leaves, and like I said, obviously we're going to dive into the film. Have you dive into the film when we do our before the battle, because obviously with the Grambling game, there's not a boatload to dive into as
Yeah.
far as for the game itself. What are what's your biggest takeaway from this game?
I mean, my biggest takeaway is obviously the obvious thing would be the defense, right? That would be the obvious thing. But my biggest takeaway is the guys played like they still have something to prove. And like that to me says so much about the culture, right? The guys were playing like they had something to prove. I didn't see a group of guys that just went out there and expected to win, like just because they're Ohio State. Like they went out and they were working and trying to earn it. Like you could see, like they felt that pressure. Like I have to earn and work for this, and that was awesome to see. The sense of urgency, the sacrifice, dude, on Carnell Tate's touchdown, watching Will Kazmarek do a freaking spin move to do whatever he could to block Colin Simmons
Yes.
so that Julian Sayin had enough time to get that ball off. Like that tells me something. Like I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we can go out and win this game. And so after coming off a natty, to see a team still that hungry, man, like that was pretty cool, pretty freaking cool to see. So that was probably my biggest takeaway overall. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just think like you said, the swagger, the edge, which somebody, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Ryan Day or Matt Patricia got asked had to describe the team, and they used the word edgy. These guys didn't want the natty banners up 2 weeks after the season ended last year.
Yeah.
They and like Ryan Day said, he goes, we're not defending anything. This is a different team. And when now granted, you have dudes like Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis that are the leaders of this room, of this whole team. It's going to be easy to not become complacent. The other thing that stood out to me also falls under culture. Um, the D line. I can't think. They made a big stop. Might have been the 4th and goal, and you look over on the bench, and it's not Larry Johnson coaching the guys up. It's JT Tuimoloau out and Jack Sawyer.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is culture.
Yeah, man.
Will Howard, 1 year at Ohio State, back there doing appearances all over the weekend. Matthew McConaughey in the building, Glenn Powell in the building. It's just at the end of the day, it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
And, massive, massive win. Couple weeks of working on things coming up. Then you get into the Big Ten schedule. I think, that Penn State game is going to be a banger. Obviously we're 2 months from that one. You got Illinois in there though, but there's plenty of time for this team to start working toward, the top of the mountain.
Absolutely.
But I just think that, like you said earlier in the show, they took the game that was given to them and found a way to win.
Yep. And sometimes it's got to be ugly, and that's okay. And that's okay. Good teams find ways to win games ugly. And
well, you saw with LSU
Buckeyes did
Tennessee.
Yep.
Or not Tennessee, LSU Clemson.
Yep.
Another low-scoring game. Nothing fancy. Cade Klubnik looked human already.
Yep.
But it's week 1.
Yeah.
So Buckeye Leaves, I mean, there could be a ton. Obviously you could give one to the crowd. You could give one to Matt Patricia. But I think I was able to narrow it down. We didn't even talk about Carnell Tate's catch.
That was fantastic.
And the one, I don't know if it was a 3rd or a 4th down, he ran the comeback route. And I actually thought it was JJ because of the way he went up and just held the ball.
Awesome.
Great game for Carnell.
Yeah.
Again, not a flashy game, but he got the job done when his number was called.
Yep.
So I'm going to give my first Buckeye Leaf to the O-line.
Okay.
0 sacks.
There we go.
Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill. 2 guys we talked about. They were non-existent pretty much.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
You hit on Kasmerick blocking, Simmons on the touchdown. Just phenomenal O-line. The pass pro was great. Once you get to look at the film a little bit, we'll know how much of the running game issues were guys missing holes. But I'm going to guess that we're going to see more than we think.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I can't wait to dive into that a little bit on another late night evening when I finally get some time.
Right.
My first Buckeye Leaf, I'm a homer. I got to give it to my guy Luke. Making his first, official start. Thought he played fantastic, man. I thought he did. I thought he did awesome. One play got it caught up in a blitz. Guy was able to make a play on 3rd down. But other than that, man, he did an awesome job, man. So shout out to Luke. That would be my first Buckeye Leaf.
I'm going to take the easy way out for my next one, and it's got to go to Arvell Reese.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he just, Jaden came home and watched the game with me, and, we were sitting there talking, and he was like, the dude's not human. And he was talking about a picture he sent to one of his buddies, and it was when they did the Dudes of the Week, and he was like, that's scary. And then you had the reflective visor on, he goes, but the guy lived up to the hype.
He most definitely did. My second one, I'm an Ohio guy. I'm a high school coach, so I'm gonna stick in the state of Ohio, man. I gotta represent. I'm going to give it to Will Smith Jr. I was happy to see him get as many reps as he did. I thought that he did well. I thought that he played well in the time that he was in there. He was in on the big 4th down stop on the goal line. He's going to provide good depth. I mean, I think he played 16 snaps. I think if they can keep that around 20, That is what they need him to do. That's what he's got to provide. And if he can do that on a consistent basis, that's going to keep, Edric and Caden fresh for the game. And so I thought he played very well. There was a couple plays in the backfield I thought, that he should have made. But man, for this being his first time really getting out on the field, I thought he did a really good job. So Dublin, Kaufman, Doan, Will Smith Jr., man, shout out to him. And I thought he played well. So he'll be my second Buckeye Leaf for sure.
And I was gonna go with Jermaine Matthews, but that's easy. Um, I think I'm going to give one to C.J. Donaldson.
There we go.
To come in, from the Big 12 to the Big 10, and you embraced Mickey Marotti, you lost the weight, and to just run as physical as that dude did. And he got rode pretty hard in that game. And he was running just as hard in the third and fourth as he was in the first. So yeah, we'll go CJ Donaldson.
Okay. All right. My last one. This will be my last one I'm going to give out. I'm sticking with my theme, state of Ohio high school football. I'm going to give some love to Lorenzo Styles Jr. Played 65 snaps, playing the nickel, playing at safety. This is a guy who out of high school went to Notre Dame to play receiver, decided to came back as a walk-on because he just wanted to play with his brother. Obviously NIL, there was different things that was paying for his school, but this guy earned this. This guy earned being a starter, and he dang near played every single snap the first game against the number one team in the country. And he played really well. Like, that is one of the things that I think really stood out to me. Like, there's a lot of trust that they have in him. Like, they ask him to do a lot that goes under the radar, just like they asked Jalen McClain to do a lot. And I know they asked Caleb Downs to do a lot, but they asked all three of those safeties to do quite a bit, man. And so Lorenzo Styles played a pretty freaking good game. And I think that he is going to be under the radar player for us this season that really will need to step up big for us again in some of these big games that we'll have this season, like against Illinois and Penn State and stuff. So that will be my last one, man. I just love seeing the Ohio kids come out and do their thing. And I know he's been chomping at the bit to get that opportunity to be a starter. And, I think he's making the most of it.
Yeah, and ironically enough, PFF has him as 17th out of 18 on the defensive side of the ball.
It's crazy.
But they also have IGB 15.
It's crazy.
And IGB played really, really well.
I thought IGB played well.
PFF also has Luke as the number one offensive lineman from the Buckeyes. But the same thing there. PFF is so subjective.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, Buckeyes come out with a dub.
Yep.
It's football season. 3:30 this Saturday. Like I said, we'll do it before the battle later this week. But we're going to throw in some Texas film review too. That way Slate can really break down some of the defensive concepts we saw. And I think that's all we've got. So with that, we will see you guys later this week.